Bring your host today. This is one of a series of Meet the Employers sessions. It's part of our Career Hive webinars. So if you're not familiar with that, we will be sending out an email to you after this webinar. Today you'll meet from Facebook, a really progressive and enlightened employer who will share stories about their organisation, their roles, and also their recruitment process. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions towards the end of this session. So please do pop them in the question box and we will do our best to get to all of them. So we hope that this session is accessible for everyone. Please do give us feedback. The event is held on the Evenbreak platform. It's not a Facebook enterprise account. So this session will be recorded for the Hive, but no active audience members actually being recorded. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to, first of all, our signer today, Colleen. Colleen, hi, how are you, and welcome. I'd also like to welcome you to our Facebook speakers today, and they are Vicky Chen and Jake Hobson. So welcome, Vicky and Jake. Now, Facebook advertises a lot of their roles on Evenbreak at the moment, so they make it really clear that their candidates or that they welcome highly talented and disabled candidates. So what I'd like to do is start off and just ask Vicky and Jake to introduce themselves and their roles and what they do at Facebook. Jake.
Thanks so much, Rosa. Really great to be able to be here today. My name's Jake Hobson. Pronouns are he and him. I'm the Regional Diversity Partner for EMEA and Latin America. So I'm really excited to be able to represent two awesome areas of our business. And I'm personally here, I am someone who has dyspraxia and recently found out that I also have ADHD as well. So it's really, for me, great to be here to be able to talk about a lived experience of disability and how my experience has been at work joining Facebook, but also really to help the conversation around what's a career like at Facebook as well. So great to be here, thank you.
Great, Jake, thank you. Vicky, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Rosa. My name is Vicky, and pronounced as she and her. I work as a sourcer in the recruiting team on Facebook. I'm personally really passionate about diversity and inclusion, as this is something I strongly resonate with. Because some of my friends and families who have had who have disabilities had some negative experiences in the past at their workplaces, and also my partner has invisible disability as well. So I've seen their experience, and I'm really keen to contribute, and see what I can do to the process of building a diversity workplace and beyond. As I know that my disabled, friends, families, and colleagues, that they need us to advocate for them, because we are all responsible for inclusivity.
Fantastic, thank you both, and again, welcome to today's session. Let's get started, will we? We'll kick off with the first question. Jake, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with you, if that's okay. My question to you is, tell us why diversity and inclusion is important to Facebook and why you've decided to partner with Evenbreak.
Perfect, great question. So I think as Facebook, what we do is, in terms of our mission, is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. We believe that a diverse workforce can better serve people from all backgrounds who use our products. We've got 3 billion users that use our products in terms of Facebook social media, that we call it Blue. We've got WhatsApp, we've got Instagram, we've got a number of other Oculus and gaming, etc. So we've got so many ways in which people can engage with us. And so it's important for us to make sure that we're thinking through around representation of experiences, right? And it's not just disability, it's cognitive diversity, thinking styles, the experiences that people gain in their life helps us make sure that we're serving a global community. And I think, you know, making sure that we're building accessible products it's so important for us. You know, we recognize that technology has such an important part to play in our world today in society. And from a diversity and inclusion perspective, we are committed to disability and inclusion. We particularly proud of our top score and named the best place to work for disability and inclusion by the Disability Equality Index. And really, you know, we're trying to think through, like, in terms of our approach to diversity and inclusion, our strategies really around finding, growing and keeping talent, and then how do we also then integrate into our products, right, and our policies and our programs? How do we really make sure that we're taking those learnings and putting diversity and inclusion at the heart of everything that we do? And I think Evenbreak, in terms of our partnership, really stood out to us as a fantastic inclusive recruiting partner, because A, it's a social enterprise and that exists to ensure that employers not only reach, but also retain a pool of diverse talent. And I think, you know, Evenbreak really as a company puts talent first. And that speaks to our mission around building community and being a strengths-based employer as well.
Fantastic, Jake. Thanks, Emil, for that. Vicky, I'd like to ask you the next question, if that's okay. Yeah. What does the recruitment process look like at Facebook? And how would somebody make their application stand out?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Thanks, Rosa. So as Jake mentioned earlier, you know, we built the team, started build our products to serve our global community. So we actually have a really wide range of, you know, roles and the levels we have here across the board. You know, for example, we have over 3,000 openings on our career side at this moment, you know, in different areas of work and the locations across all levels. So speaking of type of roles, we have to, you know, to elaborate, we have roles in software engineering, in infrastructure, HR, policy, communications, legal, global operations, etc. You know, you can filter the roles by areas of work and category or locations on our career sites. And speaking of location, you know, if you are based in a location outside of where the role is located at, we provide relocation and immigration support to most of the roles at most of the work locations. Yeah, so of course, I mean, subject to local policies and regulations. So for example, if you are based in, let's say, France or Korea, but interested in the role in the UK, in most cases, we will be able to provide support for relocation and immigration. We partner with companies with extensive experience and expertise to help you make a smooth transition. As we know, it is a big change, moving countries and jobs. And speaking of levels, so for example, we have we call it emerging talent recruitment, which is most for, you know, students and graduates. We also have Facebook University, which is immersive internship programs that enables students from underrepresented communities to get to know our people, our products and services. And obviously, we also have, you know, experienced hires, which will be, you know, candidates with certain years of experience in the relevant fields. And, you know, in terms of how you can get into Facebook, there are loads of different ways you can apply to roles or be contacted by a member of the recruiting team from Facebook. For example, if you know someone who works on Facebook, you can ask them to refer you for a role that you are interested in. And, you know, we also run events and career fairs like this, where you can, you know, come and hear from employees about their first-hand experience and the work they're doing. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, here's the Evenbreak job portal and our own career site where you can apply directly. for any roles that you are interested in. In addition to, the easy apply button on LinkedIn. And you can also, like our Facebook careers page on Facebook for recent news and job opportunities. So another question Rosa asked about, how you can make your application stand out. I would say really about ensure your CV is clear and succinct. We encourage, because we encourage candidates from all backgrounds to apply for roles on Facebook. As we are strengths-based hiring, what that means, for example, you don't have to have a degree to apply for a role as long as you meet all the minimum criteria. As long as you meet all the criteria under the minimum qualifications in the job post. We evaluate your application based on your qualifications and experience against the job requirements. So it is very important that in your CV, you have demonstrated your experience aligned to the role you are applying for. And in terms of, interview, like interview process, interview prep, once you are brought into the interview process, as part of our effort, of us is to ensure we are preparing all of our candidates for your interviews, equally and efficiently. We've gone through, all the interview prep materials to check and eliminate any potential biases. We know that, if all candidates were prepped equally, they should have the same chance to make it through interview loops. And speaking of, sorry, Rosa.
Fantastic. There's so much information there. I just wanted to pick up on a few things. You talked about strengths-based interviewing. Can you go into a little bit more detail on that? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, sure. So as I said earlier, so it's really about, what you can demonstrate to do, at work. For example, when I say, when we evaluate the profiles, what we look at the CV is that really, what you've done and how relevant the experience you were doing or you are doing is, aligned with the role we are hiring for. So it's that kind of like, it's different. It's compared to, like we not just look at, let's say, academic backgrounds or, a specific type of qualification if they're not as, essential to the work you will be doing. So that's kind of, the strengths-based hiring that I meant here.
So it's really important to look at that position description and be able to reflect that back in your application, including, I suppose, demonstrating your achievements and how it really meets the needs of the position description. Do you say that, Vicky?
Yes, absolutely. So absolutely. As long as you meet all the minimum qualifications in the job post, I think you're in a really good position. Obviously, if you meet some of the preferred qualification, that would be great, but it's absolutely not, as a compulsory requirement.
It's really interesting to hear about the agility in terms of the way in which a candidate can apply to Facebook. There's so many different options, isn't there? From LinkedIn to being referred through by a friend, through the standard application process. It's great because it just opens up accessibility for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and Evenbreak as well as a job.
Yeah. And you can apply through Evenbreak to Facebook. Okay. So my next question, Vicky, is how does Facebook provide support to applicants who have a disability during your recruitment process?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that. It's very important, this one. So at Facebook, we commit to provide reasonable support, which is called accommodations throughout the process, from application to recruiting, interview, and after. And when we speak about accommodations, this is where we provide reasonable support in our recruiting process and beyond for candidates with, for example, disabilities, long-term health conditions, mental health conditions, neurodiverse conditions, and anyone with sincerely held religious beliefs or, requiring pregnancy-related support. So the accommodation teams provides, confidential support and can discuss the barriers you may have during the process and advise on reasonable accommodations that could be put in place for you. So what that means is your request for accommodation is not shared with the hiring manager or others. And interviewers, they are only aware of the accommodation as needed. So for example, I have cases in the past where we have had candidates requesting accommodations. Additional time needed will be reflect on a candidate, on a calendar invite to the interviewers, but they are not given any additional information. So some people may leverage the additional time to rephrase their speeches. Some people may use it as a break during the interview. As every case is unique, and we will be carefully, handling every case. So yeah, so that means you don't have to ask for accommodation specifically as well. Instead, you can share your story with our accommodation team. You can say, I have XYZ condition, or I have an XYZ concern, and then they will work with you to tailor that accommodation, suit your needs. And I think one more thing to add is that after all, accommodations have no impact on the outcome of your interview result. So overall, when you are applying for a role or have been invited to chat with a recruiter or to an interview, you can ask for accommodation by emailing accommodations-extfb.com, which can be also found in our career site when you are submitting your application, and any emails with the recruiting team on their signatures.
So again, there's lots of agility there, isn't there, Vicky, in terms of, if a candidate wanted to approach Facebook at any stage across really the job search journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I have cases in the past that sometimes you're not sure what you should ask for, and feel free to ask any questions, any concerns or inquiries. We will take care of it, and we will ensure that you feel comfortable with the whole process, and we will ensure you have a smooth process as well. And personally, I have received some really, really positive feedback from candidates regarding how our accommodation teams handle their inquiries, or how our recruiting team handle their inquiry as well. And speaking of that, Rosa, I think it's also important to say, outline that we have, we ensure that all of recruiting teams and interviewers, they are trained with knowledge in diversity and inclusion. So speaking of trainings, we have many internal employee training courses that are mandatory as part of employees onboarding, and especially for anyone within the recruiting process, such as recruiting teams, myself and hiring managers. Give example, we have a course, it's Managing Unconscious Bias. It is a training course designed to help us recognize our biases so we can better manage their effects in the workplace. As we believe, understanding and managing our own bias will help us build a stronger and more diverse and inclusive organization. You can also find Managing Bias is also an open source that you can find it on our career page. And another example is candidate accommodations for hiring. So this is a course that will help all for recruiting and hiring communities to provide an industry-leading end-to-end experience to candidates who require accommodation. So we are capable of supporting you throughout the process and ensure that you have received the support you needed.
Fantastic. Vicky, really appreciate that. That's really extensive. I'm going to ask Jake a question, if that's okay. Jake, tell us a little bit more then about what happens to someone when they join Facebook. So they've gone through the interview process, they've been successful, they've been offered, and they've joined Facebook. Tell us what happens next.
Well, as somebody who joined in pandemic times, I've been with Facebook now for 8 months. So I have really fresh experience of it. And I can just say there's so much support available it's almost a little bit overwhelming that's there. And I think the big part is around the onboarding experience. We ask people to take time, like generally. Learning an organization like Facebook is complicated. We are a big matrixed organization. And so we proactively say your first 6 months, focus on just listening, learning, asking questions, meeting people, building your internal community. We've developed a really amazing onboarding tool that specifically highlights the training that's needed, the community opportunities, things like our respectful workplace policy, and managers looking at managers around, how inclusion behaviors is reflected in things like the performance cycle that we go through. It's things through buddy systems. One of the best things that I had was we have a kind of like a dating service, but it's not. It just connects you with like other people at Facebook for a random coffee. It's called Coffee Roulette. So, it's a really great way to build some community through that way as well in terms of onboarding. And then when we think through, right, accommodations is always going to be a conversation that may need to happen, right? Just because you've had an accommodation at the interview process, you might then decide actually you need an accommodation during your onboarding, or you might say, actually, I don't need an accommodation. I haven't personally taken any accommodations myself for ADHD or my dyspraxia, but I can always ask. The option's always there. It's not a one-time thing, off you go. It's continuous there. And I think that's a really big and important part around how we really focus in on the conversations with your manager and what's your needs. Where do you need us to show up a little bit more? Where do you need us to make sure that we're offering you the right support? How can we get the best out of you and play to your strengths, right? Because this is the conversation that we're always focused on. We've also got then like our community groups, right? So we've got 9 global Facebook resource groups. Some places might call them employee networks. And we've got one that's specific for people with disabilities. All of the groups are open, and we recognize that also people aren't one-dimensional beings. There's a lot of intersectionality, and so we have subgroups where we've got neurodiverse we've got long-term health conditions, we've got blind deaf lots of different groups that's there. In terms of ongoing support, and there's a lot of internal events, external events, ways to connect to other people in the community that either you might want to have a conversation with or to make some Facebook friends. That's there. And then I think the other part that's really important for us is the ongoing training. So how we make sure that we're providing access to recognizing how bias and micro behaviors show up in our workplace and provide tools to build inclusive muscle to counteract them, right? That's a really important tenet of our KEEP strategy around building an inclusive culture where people can thrive and that they can belong. And then obviously, you've got the day job as well. So how do we then take the integration into our products, our policies and our programs as well? So that's kind of a run through, but I'm sure you probably want to ask some more.
Yeah, again, that's really extensive. And I think the thing that stands out is that everyone is a part of this. There's a sense of community here, and it's open, it's agile. You can have those opportunities to discuss in one-to-ones with your manager or with the extensive Facebook community group, which is fantastic. Because I think one of the things is that we learn from other people's stories and finding out about the other or our colleagues. It's so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And like on day one, when you're onboarding, I remember it saying, this is now your company. Everybody gets told that because that's how our ethos is, right? So you build the company that you want to work in. And that's the really important part, right? We all contribute to the greater good, and we really pride ourselves in that philosophy around making sure like something's fixed. If something is fixing, then we need to fix it, right? This is the importance of us to make sure that we're connecting and that we're coming to solve the challenges that we're facing, both for our people, but also for our users as well.
Fantastic. If you don't mind, I'd just like to stay with this and ask you another question, Jake, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the career opportunities and career pathways within Facebook?
Sure, absolutely. So we've mentioned a few times that we're a strengths-based company, and that strengths-based interviewing that we mentioned, that Vicky mentioned earlier, we continue on into the career experience. And I think that's for me certainly something that I feel that I'm doing the work that I love doing and that I'm great at, because it means that I'm going to get better results ultimately, because I'm going to be more energized. And we provide a lot of support in terms of getting clear around your strengths and interests and how to seek them out. And I think, like, for us, career growth at Facebook requires personal ownership. You know, everybody's responsible for your unique journey that you go through, and we've got differing paths depending on where your interests are. So you can go down a manager or non-manager route if you wanted to, which, you know, I certainly myself, people management is not necessarily something that I've thought about or considered, but so I could go down the non-management route, but if that changes, I can always go across into something else. Or alternatively, you can either grow within your role and take on more responsibility, or you can go the other side and say, actually, I want to try something different. I want to go off and work in a different area within Facebook as well. And in terms of like the performance, we really focus around performance being about how managers really support equitable outcomes and equitable career conversations, right? I probably hear on a daily basis, feedback is a gift, and it really is. And so we have that culture, right, where it's great for your own development. Having those honest conversations, making sure that we're having more meaningful and consistent feedback with your manager. Where can you improve? What do you need? And it's a two-way relationship. And we provide a lot of like guides and support to enable our manager community to think about performance, really. And then we've also then think about career development, right? So there's the impact, but then there's also how are we building your skills as well? And there's so many classroom-based or self-paced learning opportunities and courses and ways to be able to kind of work and develop skills and knowledge share. Then we've got coaching programs for our FBRG communities, we've got mentoring programs, we've got community summits, which all about, again, is building connection and community, because we recognize that your network is really important to be able to think about your career development, to be able to see and know what the opportunities are. And then finally, just on that is a really around internal mobility, right? That's always a big part. Sometimes you might say, actually, you know, what is it that I want to go and do next? And we've got three ways which we think about internal mobility. Either it's career driven, it's personal, or it's company driven, right? And you know, career might be your own personal goals. Personal might be that you might decide, actually, I want to go and live in a different country, or that I want to have an opportunity to go and do a different type of work. And then company driven is we focus on getting the best people to lead, right? To work on the products. So we might actually ask you to say, you know, Vicky, would you like to come and work in Singapore, or would you like to have an opportunity to go to Brazil, or how would you feel about coming to America, right? These are all certainly opportunities that's there. So it's a little bit more about the career experience.
Great. Just wanted to go back on the strengths. Can you give some examples again of how, when you're within Facebook, how you can drive your own skills building and develop your strengths?
Yeah, absolutely. So we really focus around the performance part. So we have a performance summary cycle and then a midpoint check-in, which is an opportunity for you to think about your goals, think about your progress against that. And so we're really having clearly defined, you know, goals and what you're working towards. But we also actively encourage managers to have those career conversations, right? What can I do to help you be the best that you possibly can. We've got one of the great examples that we do at a team level is a team health toolkit, and there's a number of different modules within that. And one of those is actually, how do we as a team identify our strengths, right? We tend to typically focus on the one-on-one, but actually in a team environment as well, it's also important, right? I'm very good at creative think and problem solving. I'm probably not so great at organization and time management, but somebody as in my team is much better at that. So as a team level, right, to be able to leverage the collective power. And we keep those conversations going through your individual development plans that you create with your manager to think through where's the development opportunity, where are you doing the type of work that you enjoy, how are you getting access to some of the projects or experiences or whatever it is that you want that's going to help you to achieve whatever it is that your ambitions are.
Fantastic. Okay, I'd just like to ask one other question, and this is really open to both of you, Jake and Vicky. What would you say to our candidates? What would you recommend to our candidates and disabled candidates in general about why they should apply to Facebook? Why Facebook?
Vicky, I'll let you go first. I've done a lot of speaking.
Vicky.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for that. Yeah, this is actually a really good question. Personally, I feel very lucky and proud that I'm at a workplace, where people embrace diversity, and the culture here encourage us to be our authentic selves. We're also while supporting each other. Because
let me ask you that. Let me just say, what do you mean by authentic self? What is authentic self? Could you please explain that?
Absolutely. So what that means is really, as I was going to refer to, what Jake said earlier, that's what, strengths-based mean, is that, when you're actually being your true self, what you can do the best, and or, what you can potentially do the best is, pretty much the right direction that you will enjoy your work, you will enjoy what you're doing. So that's the key thing. Like, I think a culture where it's, open and transparent, and you'll be able to be yourself and do the work you enjoy, and at the same time, you will be able to contribute and help and support each other as well. So I think that kind of collaborative, open, transparent culture is something I personally, really proud of. I'm part of this, kind of environment, and speaking of, I guess, inclusion, it is a lifelong journey, isn't it? Like, we know, like, we still have a long way to go. But I personally feel very promising that, we have been working on it. We are doing a lot of, initiatives, driving a lot of things to get us there. To be part of the process, have a chance to influence and drive those initiatives, I think is a great thing.
Fantastic. I can really see your passion coming through, Vicky. Lovely to watch. Okay, Jake, over to you. What's your thoughts?
Thanks so much. I think, somebody who has a neurodiverse conditions, I feel like I've really been able to thrive in the culture that's here. And I think that's, I was terrified to apply. I thought I'd never get in. It's such a big organization. I don't have the skills to be able to do it. And now I'm here talking on this panel with you. So I think, for me personally, as very, sort of talking about my own journey, it is possible to be able to have that career and to at least try, to have that experience. We have so much great support and, available to people. And I think I really thrive in that real sense of community. Onboarding remotely is always going to be difficult, but actually how I felt as part of my onboarding has been what has stood out for me as my big takeaway, right? So I think that's probably just more of a personal reflection, is around, it is possible to have a great career and to do it at a place like Facebook.
And I think you mentioned earlier about how, the individual gets to take control of their career. within the organization. They get to design and engineer, you know, where they want to go, etc. And that's quite important as well, isn't it? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I've just had my one-to-one conversation with my manager this week around what work am I doing that I enjoy and what work am I not so much enjoying, and how do I kind of get that balance, right? Because part of the job is that there will be things that you may not necessarily play to all of your strengths. That's just the nature of work. But how do we create those opportunities and conversations to do more of what energizes you? Because that's where you're going to get the job satisfaction, to be able to do the great stuff, to really think about the impact that you're having on the world today. That's why we exist, right? Everything that I do today impacts, whether directly or indirectly, the 3 billion users that we have. And so, you know, that's, for me, is why it's so important. Fantastic.
Thank you both. What I'd love to do now is to open this up to our fabulous, highly talented candidates who've joined us today. So I'll just start with with the Q&A, if that's okay. So first up, the question is, how do I apply for Facebook internships?
Sure, I can take this one. Thanks, Rosa. Yeah, I mean, we have many internship programs, you know, like new graduate roles, your PhD, and early in career roles as well. So basically, you can find all the information on our career site under the student and grad section. We also have an engineering bootcamp, which is a training program lasting around like 6 weeks. In addition to research roles. So yeah, so you can find more information on our website and find the one that, you know, you find of interest, or you feel like you'd like to apply.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier too about with graduates when they come on board, there's lots of different programs and opportunities for training, and there's mentoring as well, isn't there, Vicky?
Yes, so, you know, like it's quite an intensive program as well. You'll be able to really get to know, you know, how more about our product, you know, our services, and also get to know, you know, people working in the field that you're interested in, and to gain, you know, the kind of hands-on experience in that area. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, so got another question here for you both. Would you see any issues in applying for more than one role at a time with Facebook?
I can take this one, see if Jake has anything to add on. Yeah, of course. Like you can apply to up to, I think, 3 roles at any one time. And also same time, you know, we encourage you to find the right opportunity for you that's kind of, you know, aligned with your experience, your skill sets, your passion the most, because that's where, you know, the situation that you're likely to get into the process and likely to enjoy the work you'll be doing as well.
So really you can apply for up to 3 roles at a given time with Facebook?
That's correct.
Great, okay. So we'll move on. Here's another question. Is there a limit of age to work at Facebook? I'm 44 and just started to look for a professional career. Who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one for sure. Absolutely not. We have an extremely diverse workforce, and who come from many different backgrounds, many different ages, many different experiences that's there. And that's important. That's the core component part of our approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because the only way that we can ensure that we continue to build products and services that meet the needs of all of our communities is to have people who have got different experiences at different stages in their life, because that's the richness that we want to be able to capture, because we're building products and services that and we need to make sure that they're inclusive. So absolutely welcome everybody to all ages to apply.
Great. Got another interesting question here. What are the top skills that Facebook are looking for? I mean, obviously it's going to be dependent on the role, right? Each role is going to be different. But this candidate's interested in knowing what are the top skills that Facebook are looking for? What do they seek out?
Vicky, do you want to take that one?
Jake, feel free to add on. I would just wanted to say that it really depends on the role you are interested. Like when you read through the job post, you'll be able to see what what do we expect this role to do. So that's kind of I would say the best place to to get this information from. Yeah.
Great. Okay, have we got any other questions coming through? Anybody else want to ask a question? Any other questions?
Hi, Rosa. Yes, there are some more questions.
Great, thank you.
Yes, it's Rachel here. So I've been interviewed for a role 3 times during 2 years, 3 screens, 2 with a team member, but I could not make it through. Do I still have a chance in the future? If yes, will previous tries be considered during the evaluations?
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. I can take this one, and I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for your interest at Facebook. Yes, definitely. Of course, every role has a different set of requirements. So even though you are unsuccessful in one application, it doesn't mean that you won't be successful in the future. And yeah, feel free to reapply. Once you see the role that you're interested. Your previous feedbacks won't be considered with this in mind. When you apply for new roles, but we do encourage people to apply, at least wait for 6 months. After you wait for 6 months until you apply the role again, as we also feel like you may gain more experience in that area, potentially likely to be more successful in next time. So yeah, in general, definitely we encourage you to reapply for the roles you're interested in. And I do have a colleague openly spoke about it, that they felt their first time application, and then they are here. They joined us a year later. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. Rachel, is there any more questions coming through?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. So Sue's asking, what types of roles do you have around content design and creation?
Great, I can take this one. Interesting, because I'm actually recruiting for content design at Facebook. So we have a wide range of roles available. As content design is also very important for Facebook, of course, product and other services. I would say, first of all, feel free to check out our career site. Obviously, Evenbreak career site. You will find the live job there. But in terms of like a type of content design roles, obviously it depends on the team you will be joining, the product you'll be working on. Some examples in London, let's say we have Workplace, which is a business version of Facebook, for employee internal communications. We have central integrity, we have community integrity, which are those people ensure the community safety and also ensure our voice being protected. We also have obviously Facebook Reality Labs, which the team working on those AR, VR projects were very exciting. Those emerging technologies. We also have like commercial side, we have Facebook and Instagram shops as well, which is a relatively new product we launched the last year in May. And one of the key reasons is to help those businesses, especially small businesses, as some of them have had to close their physical shops due to pandemic. So that by having an online platform for them, they can carry on the business online. So yeah, we have definitely a wide range of product and services here for content design and creation.
And Jake, I just wanted to ask you a question, because obviously once somebody's within Facebook, what is the process internally if you're wanting to move around or across? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Sure, absolutely. So for somebody who's wanting to move, depending whether it's an internal move or whether that's changing role, it's really around having those conversations with your manager to make sure that we're thinking about what are your skills now, where do your skills need to be, depending on where it is, right? So if you're looking for a promotion, it's quite a nuanced discussion because it's all about your individual part, right? But at the core of it is a conversation with your manager to identify what skills have you got right now, where do you need to develop those, what opportunities are coming up down the line as well, you know, in terms of within, if you're thinking about an internal move to because of personal reasons or career driven or whatever that is. And so it's about those conversations and making sure that we think through as part of your development and your career development, how you gain access to that. That's probably the short answer. It's probably not specific, but I think it's just trying to make sure we look at it as a one-on-one basis, right? Because everyone's career is personal to them.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And it's about continuous skills building, isn't it? And identifying what those gaps are and how you can develop the skills. Thank you very much for that, Jake. Rachel, is there any other questions that have come through on the feed?
Yep, there are. There's quite a few actually, so we might have to have a bit of a motor. So Simon said, I've got 23 years of British Armed Forces service and some attributable injuries. Do you find ex-services do bring value to the team?
I'll take that one. Absolutely. Yes, we have a very large community of veterans globally, and in London we have a dedicated Vets at Facebook resource group too. We recently held a limb loss awareness talk internally that was created by the community itself, so that the wider employee base could learn more around that experience, PTSD, limb loss, as into celebration of a global awareness day. And so absolutely, it comes back to the initial part is that we want the diversity of experiences, cognitive diversity, different, you know, different strengths that come with that, right? You know, it's not always just you have to work in tech. Previously, I worked in like recruitment and doing like recruitment and sales. So, and now I'm working here, right? I've never worked in a tech organization before. And so it's about trying to get the best people that can help us build the right solutions and services. So yes, absolutely. In summary, please do take a look at our roles.
Great, thank you. Rachel, go for it.
Right, one more. Are there any opportunities to get involved in corporate social responsibility related to disability when joining Facebook? Sure,
I'll probably take that one as well. And hopefully I can answer this question to make sure that I'm clear. So we have a lot of opportunities around the products that we have, both externally and internally, to be able to be involved with how we're supporting different groups. So a lot of it's done through our FBRG communities, that's there as well. But we also do a lot around social good, right? You know, we are a big platform that and a big well-known brand that is about bringing communities together. And so we do have a lot of our kind of philosophy to philanthropy and how do we make sure that we're thinking about inclusion as a, you know, in the wider world as well. So there are opportunities to be able to get involved with that as well, as part of kind of corporate social responsibility. But I think I'd need to just click in to understand a little bit more around what's the specific to be able to make sure that I was answering that. But there's lots of opportunities for us. You know, we have so much that we're trying to do in terms of building a better world that's really about community and bringing communities together. And so, you know, there's plenty of ways in which that could be done.
Okay, thank you, Jake. Rachel, is there any other questions on the feed?
There's just one more that I'm going to touch on. I think you may have covered this, but Ahmed's asking, is there a specific time frame to reapply to Facebook again if you've been rejected?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, I can take this one. Yes, I mean, if it's for exactly the same role, we'll often ask you to wait for 6 months so that they can further, you know, experience to apply. But if it's for a different role, feel free to go for it.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, Rachel?
I think that's it. I think that's it. If anybody does have a question though that we've not answered, of course, they can always email us at the Hive and we can forward those questions on, I'm sure.
Great, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. Okay, Vicky and Jake, thank you very much for joining us today. We really do appreciate your wonderful insights. And it's lovely to see your passion for Facebook and, you know, sharing with us that information, the stories around your recruitment processes, the strengths-based interviews that you do, etc. Is there anything final that you'd like to say to our candidates before we finish up?
Just thank you for participating. Feel free to look at the Evenbreak job board, find opportunities that work for you, right? And you know, if there's not anything now, we are a growing organisation, so there may be something down the line. You know, we have got so many opportunities to be able to have a career with us. So thank you for your participation as well.
Thank you, Jake. Vicky, is there anything you'd like to finish up with?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Jake. Thank you, Rosa. I would say, yeah, thank you everyone for your, for your attendance. As hopefully, after this session, you get to know more about Facebook, what we do here, what we, do about diversity and inclusion, specifically behind the scene. And yeah, hopefully it give you a brief idea. And if you're interested in applying for Facebook, please check out Evenbreak's job site. They have all of the roles there for EMEA. And yeah, thank you so much.
Great. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming along today and all the wonderful questions that you've been asking. We will be sending out an email to you all following this. And just as Vicky and Jake has said, please feel free to take a look. There's lots of really interesting positions on the Evenbreak job site at the moment. And watch out for our next Meet the Employer session. Vicky and Jake, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much.
Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye.